God bless you, my brothers and sisters. Today is day 12 of the 40 days of decrease. And today we are fasting from isolation. Our scripture text is taken from John chapter 14, verses 15 through 22. And I want to commend you to read through those scriptures in John chapter 14, verses 15 through 22. And then as you come to the end of this time together, to take the time to really spend some time in prayer as we work through these 40 days of decrease. Now, isolation rarely announces itself as rebellion. More often, it presents itself as self protection, as independence or emotional survival. We withdraw because we're tired, we're wounded, disappointed, or unsure of how to remain present without being overwhelmed. But over time, what begins as distance becomes disconnection. Lent invites us to notice what we do and what we retreat from. Day 12 asks us to confront the subtle but powerful habit of isolation and to consider how separation from others gradually becomes separation from the life that God intends for us to share. Isolation is the deliberate or unconscious withdrawal from relationships, from presence, from shared life. It is the choice to manage pain, uncertainty, or vulnerability by pulling inward rather than remaining connected. Spiritually, isolation convinces us that faith is private, self contained, and sustainable without community. To fast from isolation, then, is to deny the need for solitude or rest. It is to refuse the lie that we are created to endure life alone. It's to resist the impulse to disconnect when God is inviting us to remain present. And so Jesus speaks these words to the disciples who are already anxious about separation. He has told them that he's leaving. He has warned them of the coming disruption. And into that fear, listen to the promise that he makes. I will not leave you as orphans. It's not merely a statement of comfort, it's a declaration of identity. Orphans live without secure attachment. Jesus insists that his followers will not. He promises the Spirit, not as an abstract force, but as an ongoing presence. Listen to what he says. He abides with you and will be in you. The language that Jesus is using is relational, it's not distant. He's making clear that discipleship will not and cannot be sustained by isolation, but by abiding connection with God and with one another. Isolation often grows in moments of loss, confusion, or disappointment, when expectations are unmet or wounds remain unresolved. Withdrawal feels safer than engagement. And in the Gospels, we see people on the margins, blind beggars, tax collectors, the overlooked, whose isolation is both social and spiritual. Yet Jesus consistently interrupts isolation. He notices voices that others silence. He enters the homes that other people avoided. And he restores people not only to health, but also to community. This is what he does for the 10 lepers when he tells them to go show themselves to the priest. They're going to show themselves to the priest so that they can be restored to community. Jesus is concerned not only about the health of people, he's concerned about whether they are integrated into the fabric of Christian community, because isolation is never presented as God's design. Connection is. God does not heal us merely as individuals, but he restores us as participants in shared life. Isolation narrows our vision of God's work, but connection expands it. Isolation says, I'll get through this alone. I can manage this by myself. But Jesus says, you're not abandoned. You were not meant to walk alone. Lent exposes how easily we confuse self protection with faithfulness. And so day 12 calls us back into relationship, not because it's easy, but because it's essential. Isolation often disguises itself as strength. We tell ourselves we're being responsible, we're being resilient, or spiritually mature. But scripture consistently points us toward mutual dependence. Love, obedience, and witness are communal realities. Even the Spirit is not given to isolate believers, but to bind us together into that same Spirit. And so to remain isolated is to resist one of the primary ways that God shapes and sustains faith. And so Lent gently presses us back toward presence. It invites us to notice when we have withdrawn and why. It challenges us to re enter relationships, to re enter conversations, and to re enter communities that we quietly abandoned. To fast from isolation is to risk being seen again, to trust that God meets us not only in silence, but also in shared life. Well, what does that look like today? Today's fast invites intentional reconnection that practically looks like reaching out where you've gone silent, choosing presence instead of withdrawal, and allowing yourself to be known rather than hidden. And so today I want you to identify one relationship, one activity in community from which you've distanced yourself, and take one small step toward re-engagement. Here are your reflection questions for today. Where have I chosen isolation as a form of protection? How has withdrawal shaped my spiritual life? And what might connection look like as an act of trust? God bless you, my brothers and sisters. Again, I want to commend you to read through the scriptures for today. That's John chapter 14, verses 15 through 22, and to take the time to actually pray through today's heart fast. God bless you, and we will see you on day 13.